How many button presses are needed to beat The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? A question I have been asking myself for way too long. At first, finding the answer to this seemed nearly impossible, as Breath of the Wild is an insanely big open world game, with loads of mechanics and player freedom, meaning that the optimal route to finishing the game in as little inputs could be extremely hard to find. The rules are simple. I can't press any of these buttons unless there's no other way to progress. Also, any glitches and exploits are allowed. After a crazy amount of research and routing, I believe I finally have an answer to this strangely daunting question. So, how many inputs are needed? Well, let's see. The game begins with a cutscene. This can be skipped, but will cost 2 inputs to do so instead we sit through it and wake up from our 100-year slumber. First thing we need to do is collect the Sheikah Slate. This is a required item, so we do need to obtain it. The initial interaction with the pedestal costs a single A input, with another 2 B inputs following to skip some dialogue boxes. Originally, I thought the optimum way to get out of here would have been to use the speedrunning technique of clipping out of the shrine. This trick done with minimal button presses costed 7 inputs in total, but this turned out to be way too many. Instead, we go through the intended path and interact with the other pedestal, which costs another A press. After that, we're faced with another 3 dialogue boxes that need skipping. The first 2 we can skip with some B inputs, but for the third one we press and hold B. A small cutscene plays as the door opens, and as we're still holding B, Link will be able to run wherever we move. We now run into the rock, which prompts Link to automatically start climbing it, which skips the need to do the climbing tutorial and press X. Now that we're holding onto the rock, we just slowly make our way up and walk into the title sequence cutscene, and thus, our journey has begun. Once we have access to the Great Plateau, Zelda will briefly give us a tutorial on how to open the map using the minus button. We instead press B and completely ignore what she just said. At first, I assumed that doing some speedrun tricks would lead to less inputs, so originally we would go to and clip into each of the 4 shrines. This ended up taking a staggering amount of inputs, so my next idea was to just activate the tower and then endure the long and dialogue box heavy Old Man cutscene. Both of these options took a ridiculous amount of inputs, but luckily there is another way. We instead just pick up the wooden shield with 3 inputs, and then the torch for a reason I'll explain later with another 3 inputs. After skipping the final dialogue box, we keep the B button held down whilst we go this very specific route towards the Stasis Shrine. As the area surrounding the shrine is cold and could freeze us to death, we take the quickest route over there, which leaves us with only half a heart left. We now do some fancy clipping into the shrine by using the scope clip glitch, using a total of 4 inputs. As we are still holding B, we can run up the side of the shrine and on top of it. Now we can let go of B and open and close the scope to ensure the glitch works. After that, we line Link up in a very specific position for opening the scope up once again, clipping us through the floor. Now all we need to do is walk into this corner to clip into the shrine and press A to activate the elevator. Once we're in the shrine, we interact with the pedestal and collect the stasis rune, which costs us 4 more inputs. We press the left trigger and A to freeze the cog, and just barely squeeze past the rolling boulder whilst walking. Then we do some strange shield shenanigans to get on top of this boulder with only 3 inputs. Now that we're at the end of the shrine, we just press A to interact and B to skip the spirit orb dialogue box. Once we've completed the shrine, the old man gives us the cutscene that's only meant to be played after you activate the tower, which glitches out the game in a way I'll explain later. For now, we go through the dialogue heavy cutscene and choose 4 specific options to ensure we have less dialogue boxes. In total, we press 21 buttons throughout the cutscene before slowly making our way towards the tower. A relatively easy task if we just take our time and avoid bokoblins. Once we're at the tower, we interact with the pedestal using A and then skip 5 more dialogue boxes. We now watch the epic cutscene as we aren't allowed to skip it, and then we carefully drop down the tower. Once at the bottom, the old man cutscene that previously ate up 26 inputs is now glitched as we've already accessed and completed a shrine, and the results of this glitch are pretty funny. Anyways, the only input here is a B press to skip the adventure log tutorial. Now we just need to make our way over to the bomb shrine, which is once again relatively easy. Now we activate the shrine with A, skip another dialogue box, and then enter the shrine with A. Once we're inside the shrine, we need to interact with the pedestal and collect the bomb runes, which took a total of 4 inputs. Now we need to blow up a couple things, and whenever I do so, I press 3 buttons. Left trigger, right trigger, and then left trigger again. So we blow up this, walk through and then blow up this, climb the ladder and then blow up this, And finally, blow up this. Once that's all blown up, we climb the ladder and press A to interact. We get the spirit orb and then press and hold B to close the dialogue box and complete the shrine. I should probably explain why we're doing the shrines in this order. We obviously need to do all 4 of the shrines, but whichever one you end with means that rune is equipped. For example, right now we've done bombs, meaning that the bomb rune will now be equipped. But as soon as we do another shrine, that rune will replace bombs and be equipped instead. As we need to use Magnesis after finishing the Great Plateau, we do Cryonis next. Because Cryonis is in an extremely awkward position, with it being surrounded by snow and an icy river, getting there proved a challenge. But if you recall, we previously picked up a torch, which will be our ticket to making our way across the snowy mountain. As we are still holding B, we run all the way here and then climb this wall. Now we stand next to the fire and press Y to get the torch lit. We dodge some arrows before slowly making our way all the way towards the Cryonis shrine. Activate the shrine with A and then go down the elevator. We press 3 buttons to collect the rune, and then we press left trigger and A to get up this ledge, left trigger and A again to get this gate open, and then left trigger and A again to turn this platform into a ramp. Now that we're at the end of the shrine, we just press A to interact, and B to close the dialogue box and complete the shrine. Once we're out of the shrine, we press Y to relight the torch and walk all the way over to Magnesis. Same thing as usual, we press A to activate the shrine, and then A again to enter. Once we're inside, we press 3 buttons to get the Magnesis rune, press left trigger and A to move this metal platform, press left trigger and A again to move this metal box, and left trigger and A again to move this platform to act like a ramp. And then finally, left trigger and A to open this metal door. Once at the end, we press A to interact and B to skip the dialogue box and complete the shrine. Once we're out of the Magnesis shrine, the old man comes down for another cutscene. Thankfully, this one only has 6 dialogue boxes that need to be skipped. After that, we slowly make our way towards the Temple of Time, climb this ladder, and then enter the Paraglider cutscene, which goes on for like 7 minutes. After that, we skip another dialogue box before getting the Paraglider. We skip this and then press B another 3 times to skip some more dialogue. And that's the Great Plateau completed. Now the entire map is unlocked, and our focus is now shifted towards the final fight between us and Ganon. And everything we do from this point forward will be set up for the battle. First thing we do is bait this Bokoblin into smashing some pots, and with any luck, 2 times 5 arrows will drop, and picking these up costs 3 inputs in total. I'll mention now that a major advantage in the final boss fights is dealing more damage, and a great way to do this is by having a max attack up buff. In speedruns of the game, runners achieve this through creating either elixirs or specific meals that incorporate ingredients that will add this effect. This method ended up taking a lot of inputs, as you needed to collect all the individual ingredients, place them together in a cooking pot, and then consume the resulting item. Instead, we choose another way of getting max attack up buff. In the first expansion pass DLC for Breath of the Wild, Phantom Armor was added to the game, and this set will be our ticket to dealing 50% more damage. So, from the Temple of Time, we go near the Magnesis Shrine and carefully climb down the wall and officially leave the Great Plateau. Now we slowly walk to 3 separate locations. First is the Colosseum Ruins, where we narrowly avoid a Lionel to Magnesis this chest and grab the Phantom Helmet. Next, we walk over to the Hyrule Garrison Ruins and once again use Magnesis to get this chest that holds the Phantom Greaves. We then keep out of sight from Guardians and make our way to the Sacred Grounds Ruins, and use Magnesis on this chest and collect the final piece of Phantom Armor, completing the set. Although we have all of the armor, we hold off from equipping it as that comes later. Instead, we methodically make our way into the castle. This ended up taking no input, so I won't waste too much time here. We basically climb up this wall to avoid a Guardian, drop down onto this outer castle wall, and then we keep narrowly avoiding more Guardians until we eventually make our way here. Now all that's left to do is walk towards the large pillar, with the only worry being a Guardian to the right. But if you're relatively lucky, they won't spot you and you'll eventually make your way into the cutscene. This section of the route saw a lot of changes due to a multitude of factors. Basically, for the final fight, we want to get as little weapons as feasibly possible, as unnecessary weapon pickups lead to unnecessary button inputs. So we journey all the way over to here before slowly climbing this tower and opening a chest with 3 ancient arrows, costing us 3 inputs in total. Then we make our way towards the dining hall and enter the castle. In this room, we drop down and collect the Royal Guard's bow with 3 inputs, and hold B on the final dialogue box so that we can escape the moblin. After that, we go back outside and walk until we reach this ledge, and drop down to get this chest and grab another 3 ancient arrows, costing us 2 inputs, as this time there's no arrow swap tutorial. This section has multiple Guardians attempting to kill us, but luckily we can just barely avoid them whilst getting further up the castle. Now that we're here, we just walk into this courtyard, narrowly avoid this turret, and then enter the castle again. Once in here, we go right and collect another 3 ancient arrows from a chest with 2 inputs, and then we shoot this Malasai thingy to gain access to more rooms. We now sneak past this Lizalfo and climb this wall to get onto this platform. Next thing we need to do is glide down here, grab the Royal Claymore with 3 inputs, switch to the Royal Claymore and then press Y to sneak strike the moblin. And finally, we just pick up the Royal Guard's Claymore with 2 more inputs. Now we painstakingly sneak our way back to the room with the Royal Guard's bow, but now we seek revenge on the moblin that once chased us down. We slowly climb down the wall and press Y to sneak strike and A to pick up his Royal Claymore. After that, we once again backtrack and make our way towards the sanctum at the top of the castle. I know I've been generalizing a lot in this part, but it's just to avoid tedium, as there is a lot of just walking around. Anyways, instead of entering the boss arena, we climb all the way up to the top of the central tower and open our final chest with 2 more inputs, which has 5 ancient arrows inside. We then descend back down to the entrance and prepare for the fight of our lives. This section was the single most difficult part of routing, but with the help of my friend H2O Feline, it was made much easier. Most of the footage from this point forward was also from him, so please show them some support and go subscribe to their channel. Going into this battle, we have 9 regular arrows and 14 ancient arrows, a pot lid with 9 durability, a Royal Guard's bow with 19 durability, a Royal Claymore with 35 durability, another Royal Claymore, and a Royal Guard's Claymore, both with full durability. In this fight, we do a very specific route to ensure we beat all the bosses in as little inputs as possible, and although our health and or weapons may fluctuate between cuts, do know that everything shown is completely possible in one go. Anyways, before initiating the fight, we stand in this very precise position and aim our bow in this exact location. We now open the menu and equip all the phantom armor, costing 6 inputs. We press B while tilting the left stick forward, which will begin the boss fight and start a really cool glitch. Because we shot our arrow and stepped into the arena right as the cutscene began, the arrow will now be frozen in the exact position the Wind Blight's eye is, and because it's stuck in place, it will do over 4,000 hits of damage, killing both phases of the boss as soon as the cutscene is over. For Water Blight Phase 1, we bait out a lunge and then press Y to begin holding our Royal Claymore before we spin to win. A very official piece of terminology that I'll be using frequently. Anyways, this will end the phase if you land multiple double hits. Water Blight Phase 2 is a little more complicated, with us shooting them twice in the head and then pressing Y to hold the Royal Claymore before we spin to win once again. This doesn't quite kill them, so we wait for them to teleport and then headshot them again. With 2 Blights down, we enter Fire Blight Phase 1. This is extremely simple, with us pressing Y to hold the Royal Claymore and spinning to win, which will end the phase if you hit multiple double hits. For Fire Blight Phase 2, we switch our equipped rune to bombs before jumping and pressing left trigger. We then wait for Fireblight to suck in the bomb and then press left trigger again to knock them down. After this, we just spin some more until the Royal Claymore breaks. We then equip the new Royal Claymore and press Y to hold it before spinning to win once again, ending the phase. Now onto the hardest one, Thunder Blight. For phase 1, we hold B and run towards them before pressing Y twice to break their shield. We then spin to win once to knock them down, and then spin to win again, and just as they begin to levitate off the ground, we shoot them in the head to end the phase. In phase 2, we switch our rune again, but this time back to Magnesis. After pressing left trigger to activate the rune, we press A to lock onto a lightning rod to knock down Thunderblight. We now bait out this attack before running to dodge and pressing Y twice to break their shield. We once again spin to win until they're knocked down, and then spin to win again to finish the job. After that, all the Blights are dead. Next up, Calamity Ganon. Phase 1 is pretty simple, but quite difficult to pull off. We basically just need to swap our arrows to ancient arrows, and then proceed to headshot Ganon 14 times, which will break our bow on the final hit. This brings him extremely close to ending the first phase, and throwing our Royal Claymore with right trigger does the trick. At the start of phase 2, we walk around the outer edge of the arena, whilst dodging Ganon's lasers until we find another Royal Claymore. We then lock onto him, which brings our shield out, which we then use to parry his laser. We then initiate a stun lock glitch, which consists of us spinning to win whilst he's stunned, which will keep him permanently in a loop of not moving after this animation, as long as we do enough damage. Anyways, we spin to win a total of 3 times, whilst dealing 10 or more hits per spin. And after that, we switch to our Royal Guard's Claymore to finish up the fight by spinning to win another 2 times. Now all that's left to do is pick up the Bow of Light, shoot these 3 targets, then these 3 targets, and finally this target. Then we ride out in front of Dark Beast Ganon, jump off of the horse, and shoot the eyeball. And with that, the game is complete. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, it really helps out the channel, and please leave a comment on what game I should do next. Be sure to stick around for some streams and more videos like this. Bye!